Yuan was proud of Shui. Even though it was her first practical combat, and her first time seeing an iron-horned rhino ox, she could still control the situation and seize the opportunity. Lixing shouted that even if it has an iron hide, it was just a slightly tougher punching bag. He made Strength King Beetle continue the attack. The students were amazed with the iron-horned rhino ox because its life force hasn't lessened at all after so many hits. But it just kept taking damage. The teacher probed Yuan if the iron-horned rhino ox that he picked doesn't have a single counterattack skill. She couldn't take that. Zhue was just taking hits without fighting back. He told her to calm down and reminded her that she said Zhue has an affinity for defense-type spirit creatures. He trusts that she must have her own plan. Lixing instructed the Strength King Beetle to settle this in one blow. He wanted him to use the giant horn ram with all his might. The Strength King Beetle did what he was told. Zhu activated rock horns. They couldn't believe that iron-horned rhino ox used the field directly. It was questionable if that was even allowed. Meanwhile, Yuan was so proud that she adapted to the terrain. It was a great move. Lixing got annoyed that she resorted to cheap tricks. He instructed iron-horned rhino ox to smash them. Debris flew everywhere as the Strength King Beetle continued to charge. Zhuk made the iron-horned rhino ox continue using the rock horns. Their horns clashed. The students' jaws dropped when they saw the big iron ox withstood it. They couldn't fathom that the two were evenly matched, but they could tell that the Strength King Beetle had the upper hand. The teacher started to explain that it's because the Strength King Beetle skill, Giant Horn Ram, was a self-sacrificing attack that disregards its own injuries. And when facing the iron-horned rhino ox's defense, each attack also caused some damage to the Strength King Beetle itself. Furthermore, this Strength King Beetle was likely specially raised according to Lixing's own preferences, pursuing only maximum attack power and precise attack locking. Therefore, the possibility of its attack being blocked by a spirit creature of the same grade was overlooked. Yuan knew that the high-attack, high-quality training method was meant to seize suppressive power in a duel and end the battle quickly. But there's also a case where Lixing couldn't defeat an opponent quickly. They saw the Strength King Beetle slip. They thought that Zhu was just lucky, but her teacher informed them that it's not luck. Although they were both spirit creatures, when it comes to a prolonged struggle of strength, the body balance of an insect-type spirit creature just can't compare to an iron-horned rhino ox. Besides, the contractor's mental state also affects the spirit creature's condition. These were all points from the textbook that students should know. Lixing was getting annoyed that a mere first year not only contracted a copper-rank spirit creature, but is now blocking a power assault-type spirit creature's attack with a defense type. He felt that fate screwed him over. He ordered the Strength King Beetle to create some distance and attack the little girl on the other side directly. Strength King Beetle jumped away. It rolled towards Zhu. The teacher complained that it was against the rules. Yuan hoped that Zhu could dodge it. Zhue instructed the iron-horned rhino ox to continue using rock horns on the ground. It made cliffs, and the Strength Beetle hit one of those, causing it to fall at the edge of the field. Because of that, the match has been decided. Shocks washed over Lixing's face. They declared Zhu a winner. The first years celebrated that they had finally won. Shui's teacher finally understood that the repeated use of rock horns was to accumulate enough rocks on the field, making the final rock horns powerful enough to flip the Strength King Beetle. The student that had high expectations didn't disappoint. She pats Yuan at the back while commending him on getting his hands on something good. Yuan told her to calm down because her slap was quite powerful. Xu ran and hugged her brother. He congratulated her. She pouts and probes him where the money came from. She asked if he sold their shop. She also asked what would happen to his illness if they didn't have money. She was worried for his health. He told her no and assured her that he's all better and business was booming. The teacher didn't want to interrupt, but they were out of time, so she was brief. She told Yuan that with Xu's talent, the school hopes to recommend her to participate directly in the preliminary section for the Violet Thorn's 100 Sons. The Violet Thorn's 100 Sons selection was the most basic regional selection. The ultimate goal was to qualify for the Radiant Federation's 100 Sons selection. That was the truly top-tier national competition. Even though Xue was only a first-year high schooler, her talent was enough to be selected for the Violet Thorn's 100 Sons preliminaries. The Academy's educational resources would also be fully devoted to her, and she would definitely grow very quickly. Yuan thanked her for taking care of Xue. He assured her that he would pour all his effort into Xue's spirit creatures and resources from then on. She replied that nurturing a good seedling was also what she ought to do. She told Xue that if she didn't have a class for that afternoon, she could show her brother around the school. Yuan was worried about the yellow-spotted dog. The teacher told them that she could raise it herself. After going around and getting snacks, Yuan emphasized that he could sense spirit ki now. He asked what other proof she needed. She wanted to see it with her own eyes to be relieved. She knew that the iron-horned rhino ox must have been expensive. He showed her bank account, and her eyes widened when she saw how many zeros there were. He informed her that after his spirit ki recovered, he discovered he has some talent as a creator, so he took a job with it and earned some money. He encouraged her to just focus on her studies and go participate in the selections and get good ranking. She also doesn't need to work part-time to support the family, and Yuan revealed that he also plans to take the creator certification exam. She was happy for him. He invited her to celebrate and eat something good. She expressed that she wanted to eat hot pot. He was fine with whatever she wanted. Meanwhile, the teacher asks the yellow-spotted dog if it eats meat buns. I think the real MVP for this is this teacher. I wish all teachers are like her. Anyway, Yuan booked the ostrich logistics again to get back home. While on the ride back, he thought of putting more effort too now that Shu's studies were on the right track. After all, exams weren't that easy. He had to buy the beginner textbooks for the spirit creature researcher and spirit material analyst later. There were quite a lot of books. He thought of seeking Smarty's help too. During that day's practical combat, although Shui only seized the opportunity because of the skill's damage reflection mechanic, her stable and sufficient amount of spirit ki was the cornerstone of her victory. But compared to her, his spirit ki amount wasn't enough to be called a true spirit ki professional. Even if he wanted to level up Mobius, the exclusive trait Lock Spirit had harsh conditions. It has to start from normal grade level 1. He was surprised when they suddenly flew so fast. The driver was showing off the top speed of the black-winged Falcon to get good reviews since Yuan was almost late when he dropped him off earlier. Yuan told him that he still has things to buy, and the driver suggested that he just place an order on StarNet via Ostrich Logistics, and it would be delivered the same day. When they arrived home, the bird was already drained. Yuan asked him if it was still okay. The driver assured him that there was nothing to worry about. Now that the trip has been completed and everything was delivered just as he wanted, the driver reminded him to give them good reviews. Yuan promised he would, and then he thanked them for their hard work. He had tons of boxes at home from his online shopping. He planned to set up an online store so in the future, he won't need to go to the spirit creature market, which would be safer. He announced that he's back. Smarty and Yin Yin welcomed him back. Smarty missed him, but Smarty stopped himself because he remembered that he was supposed to be angry. Yin Yin told him not to be angry since she had already taken him for a flight. Yuan promised him that he would take him next time. Smarty was stubborn to the point that not even braised pork would cheer him up. Internally, Yuan thought of his behavior as childish, but the good thing was he came prepared. He told him that he had an apology gift for him. Yuan opened the can of cat food. Smarty couldn't resist it since it smelled so good. Because of that, he shortened the duration of his anger. Yuan told him that if he liked it, he'll buy it for him every day. Yin Yin asked if there was something for her. Yuan happily showed her an elite-grade green creeper exclusively got her. That pot would be her personal ration from then on. It was a surprise that he offered her that because previously, he wouldn't let her eat it. Smarty noticed Yuan carrying the boxes, so he asked him if he's not eating. He told them they could eat first because he still had to sort out the goods. When he was done, the store had been filled with pots. Even Smarty commented that it was way too much. He admits that he didn't really expect there to be so many. Yin Yin noticed that there was a different plant, so he checked it. There was a card that notified him that the purchase of 100 pots of green creepers makes him entitled to receive 1 Lily Luara of the same grade for free. He didn't expect them to have that kind of promotion. Then Yuan remembered that the spirit creatures that suited him were healing type, support type, and plant type. His eyes sparkled as he claimed that it was exactly what he needed. A healing-type plant spirit creature that has healing skill at normal grade. He instructed Smarty and Yin Yin to stay downstairs and take good care of those green creepers. Upstairs, Yuan got to work. He used the exclusive skill, Lock Spirit. He hadn't rested in a long time, so his mental power wasn't in its best state. But since he already started, there's no turning back. Eventually, he completed the Lock Spirit. He was pleased that, unlike before, there was no drain on his mental power at all. As long as he kept injecting spirit ki, he could start chain leveling next. An hour later, the Lily Luara became an elite grade level 1, legendary quality. Its skill was heal, and it recovers external injuries. Yuan was relieved that the leveling was finally complete. He checked Mobius. Its species was still unknown, but it had leveled up to elite grade level 1, legendary quality. Its skills remained the same. He was surprised when it suddenly glowed brightly. He was transported to Mobius's lock spirit space. He noticed that it was bigger than last time. Suddenly, someone spoke to Yuan asking if he could hear him. He replied that he could hear him loud and clear, and he greeted Mobius that it had been a while. Just a mini lesson from Zhu. When a spirit professional forms a contract with a spirit creature, it consumes mental power. A person could contract 2 to 3 spirit creatures in their lifetime, with the known limit being 5. Lock Spirit was Mobius's exclusive trait. It can achieve the same effect as forming a contract, but the contractor does not need to expend any extra mental power. Instead, the cost was borne by Mobius. The number of contracted spirit creatures was determined by how many times Mobius had leveled up. And the price was, for the first 10 years after Yuan formed a contract with Mobius, his ability to sense spirit qi was reset to 0, and his mental power was abnormally weakened. But if Yuan was being honest, currently it wasn't still so great. Back to our boy, Yuan confirmed with Mobius if he could really speak now. Mobius replied that reaching elite grade was enough for him to be able to do that. I think the design of Mobius is really unique. He then asked if that space was Mobius's exclusive ability. Mobius replied yes, and Yuan, his contractor, could modify it at will and store spirit creatures. Yuan asked about the function of the pool since he couldn't sense any spirit qi on it. Mobius clarified that there was truly no spirit qi because it was just ordinary water. It confused him. Mobius clarified that water brings wealth. Yuan commented that Mobius really has a personality. He threw something on the water. And just as he expected, even low-quality energy stones used in flower pots could still effectively emit spirit qi. In the external environment, it was inevitable that some spirit qi would dissipate, and the usage efficiency cannot reach 100%. But the lock spirit space prevents spirit qi from leaking out. If better energy stones were put in, the spirit qi would become very rich over time. Yuan was thrilled when he realized that if he strengthened spirit creatures there in the future, the efficiency would be many times faster. Mobius confirmed that, and as he advanced in rank, the usable time would also increase. Yuan knew that all of those would require a massive amount of Federation coins to support. Even the lowest quality energy stones couldn't be considered cheap, let alone high-quality energy stones. So, making money was imminent. Mobius's body started to dissipate, and Yuan started to get worried about what was wrong. He clarified that it was nothing. It was just because he could only maintain that clear state of communication for half an hour every day. The time was just up. He was the first spirit creature that Yuan contracted, so he was sorry about his mental power and spirit qi perception for the past 10 years. Yuan replied that it didn't matter, since those 10 years also allowed him to figure out a lot of things. Besides, now he has hope again, and the road ahead is still long. The challenge had only just begun. However, for Yuan at that moment, sleep was the greater force majeure. He was deep asleep. Then the next day, he used his powers on the green creepers again. While Smarty was just surfing the net, Yuan worked hard for several days. When he was done, it was late at night already. Yin Yin and Smarty were deep asleep. He went to another room and used heal to the 2 web-spraying spiders. Now, they were saved too, and that was the fruit of his leveling exercise. 7 days later, Brother Yang had arrived in front of Yuan's store. Before entering, he prayed first that he would get a chance to turn around his life this time. Then he thought about it and admitted that producing 100 pots of green creepers in such a short time was indeed too difficult. He was so lucky that he was to run into a spirit creature store with a creator behind it. He opened the door. Yuan expected him. There was no denying that it was because Yuan agreed immediately to their deal, and he had an urgent need. Yuan showed him inside. Yang already conditioned himself that it would be fine even if only 30 pots were completed. It was just enough to have hope for his newly rented spirit creature breeding base. He looked to the right and saw the pots. And on his left, there were several more pots. There were pots everywhere. Yuan informed him that they were all there. He initially wanted 76 pots so he could just pick those pots out of 100. He was in awe. He admits that Yuan saved half of his life. Yuan told him that there was no need to flatter him. Brother Yang told him to name the price and he won't haggle down a single cent. He told him that the original price was fine. Yang was touched that he had met a noble person in his life. He would definitely know he was his sworn brother. He informed him that he would buy it at the original price. Before he left, he told him that he would get his breeding base up and running, so he must come to visit him then. And if there were good things, he would save them for him first. Seeing how happy Brother Yang was, Yuan realized that being a creator was a really good profession. Now that the room felt empty, it was time for him to restock. He asked Smarty if he had already figured out the StarNet registration he asked him to learn a few days ago. Smarty yelled that something bad happened. It made Yuan rush to his side. He was crying when he went to Yuan and told him that he got fat and couldn't eat energy biscuits anymore. Yuan assured him that his fur just got fluffy. And looking at his stats, Smarty had leveled up to elite grade. Yuan asked if he felt that he became smarter. He replied yes, but he believed it was because of his own extraordinary natural talent. Before, he could remember 1 energy biscuit worth of things before. Now, he could remember as much as 5 energy biscuits. Yuan noticed how Smarty's favorite changed from braised pork to energy biscuits now. He told him that he would have a lot of things to ask for his help with. Smarty confidently replied that he could trust him with it. Yuan looked for Yin. At that moment, Yin yelled at them that something bad happened. It was the same scene again, and Yuan knew what was coming. Yin showed herself, worried that she shrunk. She wondered if she was sick. Smarty already knew what to reply, that she just leveled up. He asked Yuan if that was right. Yuan checked her stats, and she was already at elite grade level 2. Her skills were Sound Spike, wherein she fires a spike made of sound towards a designated target, and Turbulence, where she flaps her wings to generate continuous, rapid, and irregular airflow. Basically, it looked like her skills were for combat. Yuan asked why they were unrelated to singing. Smarty admits that they secretly tested their skills. He showed him a board. Yuan asked if the marks were caused by a sound spike. Yin replied yes and shared that they played by themselves when he wasn't home. Smarty suggested that they try again to see if the power has increased. Smarty held the board, and Yin told him that it was dangerous because it was too close to the target. Yuan began the sound spike experiment. Smarty told her that it would be fine because her aim was quite accurate. His eyes widened and his jaw dropped when Yin attacked. Now he was convinced that it was too dangerous. Yuan pats his head to comfort him. Next, they tried Turbulence. Yin unleashed it and shattered the plank. Yuan noticed that the power was far comparable to when it was normal grade. He realized that Yin was an authentic combat class spirit pet. The goods had been delivered to Yuan's place, and he was asked to sign the document. Meanwhile, Smarty suggested that they test Yin's skill again because he bet that she could now pierce through an iron plate. Yuan refused because they had done it several times already, so Yin was already tired. He opted to let her have a good rest, and he pointed out to Smarty that 100 Question Beast was a different type, and he would have a use in a while. Smarty encouraged him to tell him whatever it was. Yuan instructed him to feed those 2 web-spraying spiders. Smarty was nervous when he did that, because he might get bitten. Yuan noticed that fearing arachnids was the instinct of most spirit creatures. Yuan was just teasing him and helped him later on. Then he instructed him to record the information of the spirit creatures in the store. From then on, matters to the data would be handed over to Smarty to manage. Smarty noticed that the web-spraying spiders were emitting different lights. The one on the left was green while the right one was purple. Yuan knew that it was the sign that they were about to advance in rank. They sprayed webs and turned themselves into a cocoon. Smarty was impressed that Yuan had made those 2 advanced at the same time. Yuan explained that it was the same with the iron-horned rhino ox back then. They were already in a state awaiting evolution, but unfortunately met with an accident and were heavily injured. After replenishing enough vitality, advancing was just a matter of course. 2 hours later. The spider came out. One of them had an evolutionary direction towards prehistoric reversion. Its exclusive trait was fierce poison, which causes its body, including the webs, to carry intense toxicity. The other one went on a spiritual mutation. Its exclusive trait is sticky web. It increases the stickiness of the web, making the web-spraying spider's controllability stronger. Smarty was amazed that they were actually completely different evolutionary directions. Yuan admitted that he didn't expect it either. It seemed like Brother Yang had laid a good foundation. Smarty asked if they were going to sell them. He already registered the shop on StarNet. Yuan decided to take a look. He asked why they still have to input a shop name. Smarty specially left it for him so he could participate too. He started typing. He chose the name No Lost Spirit Creature Store, and his username was Deep Mountain Old Forest. Smarty commented that he went through so much trouble to apply for the shop, and it was given an old-fashioned name. After that, Yuan confirmed if the StarNet receiver had been installed. They still have to test the StarNet card later. He was informed that it was almost done. He scanned a card. They were impressed with its scanning. Yuan tapped the card on the pots, and then they went inside the room where the spiders are. Smarty asked if those spiders needed to be scanned too. Yuan replied that it was the top priority, and then Yuan playfully scanned Smarty like he was attacking him. After playing for a bit, their background changed. Smarty asked where they were. Yuan told him that it's the storefront inside StartNet. The complicated application procedures weren't just for an ordinary online store. Smarty was impressed by how big the place was. It was twice the size of their home. Although StarNet was a world composed entirely of data, the data actually exists in reality. It's just presented there in the form of a virtual image. Smarty wondered why the decorations from their home weren't there. Yuan replied that it was because the decorations inside StarNet cost extra money. It was for such a practical reason. Yuan learned to navigate the menu bar. And after that, they went to the StarNet community to look around. Yuan told him not to run around. Smarty's eyes sparkled when he saw a pig that could serve at least 80 meals of braised pork. Then he pointed out a store to Yuan. It was a furniture decoration store. Yuan decided to check inside for furniture that they could decorate the shop with. An intelligent robot approached them and asked what furniture they needed. Smarty was in awe when he saw it. Yuan expressed that he wanted 2 flower stands and a 1.5-meter high counter. The robot led the way and brought them to what they needed, but it made them pale as their jaws dropped. Yuan decided not to buy for now, and even if they had the money for it, he doesn't think it was the way to spend it. Smarty was thinking that as long as he puts 120% effort, it's not impossible to handcraft it. Yuan asked the intelligent robot for the cheapest chairs. At the very least, they had to buy a few chairs so the guests would be comfortable when they came. But it was worth 15,000. Smarty haggled 1,000 Federation coins at most. The intelligent robot simply informed him that it was not at the scope of his authority. It made Smarty sad that haggling didn't work. Yuan comforted him that it was not him. It was just that the other party was a robot. They visited the bookstore next. Smarty asked what for. Yuan reminded him that he plans to take the creator exam, so it was a given that he has to buy textbooks. He gets overwhelmed with the number of books inside, so he entrusts Smarty to choose. Smarty started saying the titles to the intelligent robot, and in total, there were 327 books with a catalog included as a gift. He was asked if he wanted them to be packaged. Yuan told the robot to package it into a knowledge chip and send it to the address that he gave. The robot asked him to sign the confidentiality agreement and promised that the purchase books would not be used by anyone other than relatives. Otherwise, the Creators Association would pursue him for liability of leakage. Now that their business was done, it was time to go back. Yuan commented that the intelligent robot was really nice. He also considered getting one to watch the store. When they showed up, someone was spooked. She noticed that he used in-store teleportation, so she asked if he was the owner. She complained that their shop doesn't even have a single intelligent robot. She could only wait there foolishly, not knowing when he would come back. He apologized and explained that the small shop had just opened, and they haven't had the time to prepare an intelligent robot yet. Deep inside, she was annoyed that this little girl was at the same age as Jue, and yet she acts high and mighty. She called him uncle and asked how much for those 2 spiders. Yuan was dumbfounded that he was addressed as uncle. The customer wanted Yuan to introduce him to the spiders and tell them their prices too. She also demanded him not to charge too high since the shop's name was No Loss. Smarty rolled on the floor, laughing when she called Yuan uncle. Yuan informed her that the smaller one with long spent weaving legs was a web-spraying spider that has awakened the exclusive trait Sticky Web. She realized that it wasn't poisonous. Then he showed her the larger one. It was a greenish web-spraying spider, and its exclusive trait was Fierce Poison. She was surprised and lost her balance. She fell on the floor, and her bee head was accidentally removed. It revealed her baldness. When Yuan saw it, he compared it to a braised egg. But he couldn't roast her since he's a professional. He endured and maintained his professional demeanor. But Smarty drooled and just said braised egg up front. Yuan was horrified. The girl touched her head and realized that her bee hat was gone. She turned red. She tried to explain that it was the after effect of treatment after being stung by a ghostly thorn bristle spider, and it would grow back in a few months. She made sure to emphasize that she's not a braised egg. The ghostly thorn bristle spider somehow heard it before. Then he asked if she was interested in spider-type spirit creatures. She was speechless. He probed her for an answer, and that made her annoyed. She clarified that she doesn't like spider-type spirit creatures at all. Yuan then asked why she was looking for spirit-type spirit creatures, and even coming into contact with a dangerous type like the ghostly thorn bristle spider. She admitted that it was because her affinity direction was spirit-type spirit creatures. Having heard that, Yuan agreed in his head that there were types of affinity that don't quite fit a person. And the person who hates spider-type spirit creatures the most just happens to only be able to contract spider-type creatures. But from another angle, Arachnida was also an exceptionally broad category of spirit creatures, so her development direction was exceptionally broad. Moreover, she was actually effectively treated after coming into contact with a ghostly thorn bristle spider, which means that she has the power of money. Funnily,